Salam alaikum. Welcome to the first webinar of Black Hat Middle East and Africa taking place in Saudi Arabia this November 2022. Today's panel is about creating cyber minds and talent. Black Hat obviously couldn't have picked any better topic than this, which is so relevant to what's happening around the world today. With me, I have the honor of three fantastic speakers and industry experts. Les Correa, the Executive Director, Global Head of Application Security from the Estee Lauder Companies. Les, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. Welcome. Ed Sleiman, the Chief Information Security Officer from King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, fondly known as COST. Ed, happy to have you with us.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.
Most welcome. And of course, last but not the least, we also have Amit Ghodekar, the Vice President of Information Security from Axis Bank in India, one of the largest banks out there. Happy to have you with us in this show, Amit.
Hey, hi. Thanks, Naveen. Thanks, everyone. And it's really a pleasure talking with everyone. Thank you.
Brilliant. And I'm Naveen Bharadwaj, the Chief Growth Officer at Spire Solutions, which is Middle East and Africa's preferred cybersecurity partner. Gentlemen, let's jump straight into today's discussion, creating cyber minds and talent. And even before we talk about that, right, I was researching a little bit, and there is a bit of common knowledge just in terms of the growing demand for cybersecurity. One of the reports that was done by Fortune Business Insights claims that the global cybersecurity market size will surpass $376 billion by 2029. So in less than 7 years, we're looking at about 376 or close to that $400 billion mark of cybersecurity growth. And Middle East, the very region where Black Hat, Middle East and Africa is taking place, the cybersecurity market here is projected to grow from $20.3 billion this year, 2022, to $44.7 billion in 2027. So almost doubling in the next 5 years. This is quite exciting, right? What's your take, Ed? What do you think is driving this growth in cybersecurity, and where are we headed?
Well, of course, geopolitics comes to mind first. That's in this region mainly the focus of the region is geopolitics, and then you have all other threats and threat surfaces that are increasing on a regular and daily basis around the world and in our region. That's basically the most of the stuff that we see around us here is emanating from these things. Plus, we have a lot of wealth these days, which is basically our data. Our oil that we used to be the actual traditional oil now is the new oil, which is the new data. And we specifically in the kingdom, since we're moving towards Vision 2030, we're trying to convert this economy from an oil-based economy to a knowledge-based economy. Of course, a lot of people, a lot of adversaries, a lot of probably actor states and stuff will be also interested in looking at that and trying to disrupt that growth and going from trying to disrupt that growth and ensuring that we do not get to Vision 2030. So this is one of the things that I could focus on in this session here. But I'd like to hear from others what they'd like to say.
Absolutely. Amit, what's your take?
A couple of things which comes to my mind immediately. One is the way the digital transformation is happening across the globe, and everyone is becoming a consumer. So earlier we used to see a lot of penetration on the web front, e-commerce and all those things, which was morely on the websites and all those things. But now the time has come on mobile economy. So we are part of a mobile economy, which is actually fueled by digital channels. And these digital channels are actually interconnected and intermingled with various services which are offered. So the consumer is actually become very mobile first. He is actually, using the technology, using the mobile phones, and it's far more digital and far more different than what it used to have. And this has actually paved a road to the threat actors to actually, do the wrong things. and their first target is definitely the consumers and then the organization. If you see the recent attacks or the recent hacks which has happened, the way the threat actors are dealing, those are very sophisticated and different than what it used to have. And because of that, what has happened that the challenge, these challenges actually are different, new, and those are definitely going to totally different in coming future. This is one of the reasons that the organizations are looking cybersecurity in a different perspective altogether. Earlier, it used to be a very strategic focus, or we used to look at cybersecurity dealing with four pieces of things. But now this digital aspect has come, consumer has come. Again, the eminent panelists have said that has become very crucial. So all these things combined altogether, cybersecurity is a different playground altogether, and because of
Absolutely.
that, the organizations are looking totally different. The demands which are coming related to the cybersecurity workforce, those are also not traditional demands. So those are newer demands. Those are
Yeah.
different demands. Those have
Yes.
cultivated different roles altogether, and that's why we are
Absolutely. And I
really looking to, yeah, we are looking in a different scenario altogether, that how we should have
Absolutely, and
the
we will be
cybersecurity
talking
minds
about
and talents. Yeah,
the
yeah,
cybersecurity talent.
exactly,
Absolutely, we'll be talking about
exactly.
that. I think this is saying, right, every
Yeah,
challenge is an opportunity, and I think there are a bunch of challenges that you talked about, which has become a huge opportunity for the cybersecurity sector in general, and the growth
exactly.
that's fueling it, right? Les, you're heading application security, and of course, the number of applications within any organization, be it a government or a private sector or even academia, is constantly growing, right? What's your take on the fuel or the injection for cybersecurity industries boom?
Okay.
What else do you think is adding to that?
Yeah. I'd like to tee off both what Ed and Amit said. I think the challenge in our world today is we've digitized and everything is digital. And the problem is that from the good sides, the white hats, if you call it ourselves, right? We have to conform to rules and cooperate, which we don't do because we have our own private domains that we cannot share. And we have regulations as well. Each country, different things, if you see all our global multinationals and so on and so forth. But the bad actors don't have to. They have to be right once. We have to be right all the time. And the fact that we've gone digitized, uh, the funny thing, and this is a mindset shift, right? We tend to secure our banking information, and with multi-factor and all those other aspects, right? And we don't do the same thing for social media, and yet all these things are correlated. So the concept of even privacy as we know it, we say, oh, the law states that this stuff, but really you can get that same information by just correlating, stuff like that. And I think that's brought the challenge. So it we'll be talking about this. It brings the thinking into kind of what kind of a mindset, and do we have to think the traditional way? Because if you think the traditional way, if we follow the same folks who've been there already, we're going to continuously be beat unless we start changing a mindset. And that's I'll leave it at that. Okay, thank you.
Perfect. So what I hear is digital transformation. Obviously, that means lots of IT infrastructure, lots of different applications, a lot of innovation. That's producing tons and tons of data, and all of this obviously needs that proactive approach to cybersecurity. Cisco actually released a report specifically for the Middle East, and they said 94% of companies admitted that they have suffered a cyber attack in the past year. Now, this number is alarming, but at the same time, it explains why the cybersecurity market is projected to double or more than double in the next 5 years or 7 years, right? Now, this takes us to this interesting part of our discussion, or the crux of our discussion. There is a huge market. We see that the monetary value is quite high. However, there are also reports which claim quite clearly, not just for the region, but globally, that there is a cybersecurity skills shortage. There is a cybersecurity talent shortage, right? So the same Cisco report that I was talking about, it said that at least 25% of the organization said that they don't have the right level of skilled cybersecurity professionals within their organizations. So on one side, they're acknowledging that, yes, we've been attacked multiple times. And on the other side, they're saying we don't have the people. We might have the tools, but we don't have the people. So let's start with you, Les. How can we address this talent issue? How can we address this skills gap?
Okay. I'm going to go into some really touchy. I think there's a disconnect, to be honest, between our hiring processes and the need. Because I've seen this in industries where we talk about it, but yet when it comes down to implementing, depending on what kind of an organization you were, and you need a mind shift, and usually that process is long. And the good folks, there's a dearth. In other words, there's a shortage of practitioners. There are a lot of folks who say they're security, but then there's very few practitioners. Those people have the same needs as anyone else, even the hiring company, right? So they won't wait. They're anxious, and it's a mindset. So I think we need to fix that, organizational change kind of management way of how we hire. That's one, because, and we might be going into the details of how we deal with it, but what I'm saying is we need to change that, because I think with the right attitude, behavior, and communications, you give me anybody and we can make it work, because the mindset of a security person is generally a mix of curiosity and paranoia. You should be asking all this what ifs. If you have that kind of a mindset, anybody can be. You don't have to be really. Of course, you need to be trained and have that thinking, but passion can take you, many ways up the chain. I'll let my colleagues in this call speak to further.
Yeah, sure. Interesting viewpoint. Ed, what do you think? Mindset and what else?
Okay, so regarding talent, I mean, definitely, like you mentioned earlier, there is a shortage worldwide and also in the kingdom, at least from our perspective here. There has to be at least 50,000 job openings right now in cybersecurity, and it's going to grow year on year when we get to Vision 2030. So how do we solve that problem is the question here. There are two-pronged solutions for this to solve this problem. Number one is that you have to attract talent, right? And number two, you have to maintain the talent that you have. You have to retain them. And there are different strategies to be able for you to be able to do that. Of course, attracting talent, you have to have the right package in place, the right environment in place. For example, here at KAUST, we're pretty lucky to have a very nice environment to work in. It's an international environment. It's very challenging. We always challenge the folks and push them to learn, because most of the generation currently that we're targeting these days for hiring and in cybersecurity are maybe Gen Z or millennials. We're not probably hiring. Mostly, I'm saying we're not hiring the boomers or other generations. So basically, what we're looking at is a generation that of social media, right? So their attention span, if you look at Gen Z, is average of 8 seconds, and for millennials is 12 seconds. So if their attention span is that short, how do you keep them excited and keep them on the job and working all the time? You have to provide them with challenges most of the time to keep them going. A lot of people, for example, what we found out is when we try to hire, they want to. They've seen the movies, they've seen Mr. Robot or other similar shows out there, and they want to be pen testers. They want to be ethical hackers. But one thing that most people don't know, that there's a soft side of cybersecurity that we can hire into, and you don't have to be really an engineer or a mathematician to get into cybersecurity sometimes, because there's the risk aspect, there's the compliance aspect, there's the awareness aspect, there's governance, there's a lot of other areas in cybersecurity by which you can direct this talent. So having the right kind of, so to summarize, having the right kind of environment that would challenge the person, that would give them the right package to attract them, and to constantly train them to keep them, basically sharp, because as you know, the threat surface always changes, is constant. The only thing that's constant, as we know, is change, and specifically in cybersecurity. So it's very important for us to be able to do this, is to provide them the right environment to flourish in.
Absolutely. Now, one thing worries me. You said that the attention span is 8 to 12 seconds, and we are on the 12th minute of this session. I was hoping that this would reach our Gen Zs of the world, but hey, maybe they would stop at "Welcome to the first panel at Black Hat Middle East and Africa." Kalas, let's move on.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah. So
interesting
you got
viewpoint.
to
I think we
keep
definitely
introducing new things.
True, true. I think not let them get complacent. Show them the value, show them the opportunity, and it's not just about employment. I think it's also about the entrepreneurship opportunities. Somebody wants to be a business owner, somebody wants to develop products,
Yeah,
somebody wants to be a consultant, right? Amit,
exactly.
what's your take on this? And do you see this talent shortage where you are currently and within your industry as well?
Yes, definitely. There is a huge talent shortage, which is very much visible. And specifically, one thing which I would like to emphasize over here, that the talent shortage is not only in the traditional roles, but in some specific roles or the new roles, which even the industry is not aware, or in the industry is not focusing on.
Yeah.
And that is the where there is a big gap. Okay, so we are all talking about the ethical hackers, we are talking about the SOC operation executives, or we are talking about the you know the ISMS guys and so on and so forth, who are doing the audits and all those things. But industry is not aware about, or there is no awareness made in the industry about the roles like security architect, which is a big role actually. Okay, so we are constantly emphasizing that there is a huge demand and supply gap in the roles like security architects, or there is a huge demand and supply gap in the areas like the niche technologies, security assessments, and so on and so forth. And these are the things which are not made aware to the industry. Now, these kind of things are very challenging, and when anyone wanted to do a career in software development, or if someone wanted to do a career in networking or something like that, he have a very clear path actually, that what he wanted to do. A software engineer, he knows very well that he wanted to do a coding, or he wanted to do XYZ. But in security, such kind of things are not made aware about to the people who are actually aspirants, or who wanted to come into this industry. And that is where the awareness, lack of awareness, is a very big challenge. Now, we actually touch base upon how we can actually retain the talent, or how we can actually think about what are things which we can actually showcase to them. Now, these are the things, if we can actually able to showcase or demonstrate that these are the career path which are available for the aspirants who wanted to make a career in cybersecurity, these are the things they can make. Or these are the kind of these are the things which they can actually make, not only from the point of view of career, but in terms of monetary gains, or reaching to a higher positions. Because what usually is
True.
happening is that now the next generation which is coming into either information technology or any another roles, they are looking at that, how and what kind of a career path I have, where I will reach in 2 years point of time, where I will reach in 5 years point of time, where I will reach in 10 years point of time. How this particular job will help me to aspire or complete my dreams, or how it will help me to reach my destination which I'm looking out for. So if collaboratively, if we can actually demonstrate such kind of a things to the aspirants who wish to do a career in cybersecurity, that can be really helpful. That is number one. Second is that
Absolutely.
enough awareness about the rules, because that is the most important thing. I have pretty much seen in all the industry veterans which have joined this particular webinar, or who will watch, they will definitely know that the actual demands of the cybersecurity professional on ground is different than what we are actually asking for, or we are producing for. So we have to make a very much good awareness among the community that these are the roles which are really high demanding role, where you will reach, and how it will be help to prosper your careers. So if we can do that, it will be nothing like it. One of the thing which I would like to say over here is that cybersecurity is a different field altogether. It is unlike the other fields. Here, the people who wanted to, or who wish to do a career, they're required to have that sort of a mindset, or that sort of enthusiasm, I will say, to actually come into this field. So it is not it's a game of the bad versus good. So the one who wish to catch the bad, they are the one who will become the successful, right? And that kind of a mindset is required. So it is always thieves and police kind of a stuff. if you really wanted to have that
Yes.
mindset that yes, I wanted to catch hold the bad actor, I have that zeal to capture the bad actor, then automatically the person can come and he can become successful. So this is what
Absolutely.
we require to showcase to the next generation, that these are the things which you can achieve. And the most important
Definitely.
thing is that the industry is actually miserably failing to demonstrate that it at the initial stage you might be getting a lesser thing, but if you give less amount of time, I'm pretty much sure that the people who are in cybersecurity industry, they have grown multifold compared to the other industries in a shorter duration of time. So if we can demonstrate that to the next generation, probably they will definitely get attracted, and they will definitely would like to pursue a career in cybersecurity. So these all things which can immediately
Absolutely.
come to my mind, and this can be helpful for me to actually continue discussion.
True, definitely. So you see, we talked about mindset, which obviously is the core and the foundation for everything. We talked about challenging
Correct.
them. We talked about motivating them, creating that inspiration, awareness around what cybersecurity is all about, where the industry is headed, and why they should be considering. There's actually another interesting element that I want to throw in and continue the discussions with you all. We are so far only talking about the youngsters and the Gen Zs, but we are also forgetting about these middle-aged people, people in their, let's say, 30s to 40s and 50s, who've probably been doing IT and IT infrastructure and system admin and network admin for way too long, or not even IT. There's actually an opportunity even for them to switch careers if they choose to provide that safe passage or that safe bridge where they can test, they can come in, they can learn and make that career switch, because everybody is going through this fatigue of doing the mundane job or mundane task day in and day out. So I think one is creation of that new talent, training that new talent, and the other is probably changing the mindset or shifting the talent from one pool to another pool is also something that we could all be looking at. Now let's talk about we talked about the approach, but I'd also like us to talk about some initiatives, some practical ways for us to help, because we are all part of this industry. If this industry is failing, we are actually failing the industry. So
Yep.
any one of you can put your hands up and go first. What are some of the initiatives that you think or you're currently working on to help change this?
Can I,
Yes,
can I
Les.
take a stab at this? First of all, I like to tee off what Amit and Ed said also, by saying the first step, right, is there's a lateral thinking here. I don't know that we have to consider ourselves all security folks, because security is everybody's responsibilities. In fact, the word security, is in the middle for good reason. It's everyone's responsibility. And it could well be that we all have to have that mindset. It's embedded in everything we do. We do this at home. We lock our doors, we do things. And the same thing, you can elevate that to, in general, software and hardware and whatever you talk. So diversity, I think diversity is important, because we tend to focus on only folks who've been studying cybersecurity, math and stuff, like, at least that some of us have done, right? But you can take an artist who has this right mind thinking, who completely thinks different than you are. And it's important to have that diversity, because you get ideas that you never even thought about. And that's why it's important to embrace. And that's one. The other part, and I'm saying this because might have different people saying, hey, how do we grow? It's important to have, I think Ed mentioned that, soft skills, because you might be a genius, but if you can't communicate that, you're useless. It's literally,
Right.
You're stuck in your shell. So it's important that you understand the business and speak in business terms, because that's the way you grow. Okay. Now, in terms of encouraging and what are we doing, right? I think one of the first things that we are thinking about, first of all, you have to have EQ. So, have good empathy to understand the folks that have come into the field, that you understand their path, you can engage with them and show interest in their development. That's one. As against, put them in the pigeonhole and, you're stuck and you do this because you're junior, you just do, and the rest of the guys can do. The other things, what we've been doing is like pairing people together, from experienced folks with junior folks and so on and so forth. We take a strong internships, which is a big thing, because sometimes you get folks that you least expected that they'll get a handle on all, the stuff. They learn a lot and they're enthusiastic. They bring different ideas, that we are stuck in our corporate kind of world. Everything goes, it's slow. These guys can think outside the box. So that's one of the other things that we do. We are considering, we haven't yet started, we're considering doing a proper security champion program for inculcating, the security knowledge across. At the same time, having our security folks understand, like, say, the business and different parts of, organization, so that we all cross-train each other so that we are part of some of the same thing. I know there's a lot to talk about. The other things we do is hackathons and capture the flags. Hackathons it's not necessarily just hacking, it's getting ideas of how
Right.
you want to do something, how to get ideas. So those are some of the things. I'll pause here to just give my colleagues the time to speak further. Okay, thank you.
And I see Ed is itching because Ed wants to supplement.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that. Actually, in addition to the word you or the letters UR in security, there's also IT, right? In security. So this is another place where you can grab people. I mean, as I think Naveed mentioned earlier, like the good old administrators, Linux, Windows, etc., programmers even, they make good cybersecurity folks from all disciplines, risk managers or risk analysts, because all we do day in, day out is risk. So basically, we manage the cybersecurity risk. You also have, other than developers, you have, now it escaped me, but there are programs that we use. Let me move on to the programs. Programs that we use to attract talent and to keep talent moving through the pipeline. And one of these programs that we're very proud of at KAUST is called the Cyber Ladies program, by which we found out that there's a lot of untapped talent in the community around us here, and specifically women who have degrees, who are brilliant, who can really contribute to the cybersecurity discipline. And we started looking at universities that graduate these folks and bringing them over and taking them through a program which we call basically the Cyber Ladies, as I mentioned, but it's based on the theory of learning. As we know, that learning is based on the 3 E's, the education, exposure, and experience. And mainly, when you look at the education, it's only 10% of learning. I mean, how many of you have taken a course and still remember everything in it, or even 10% of it after 3 months, let alone a year? No one does. So unless you're exposed constantly to this information, where the exposure comes in and the knowledge, and also you experience it, which is actually, exposure is only 20% of the learning. So you have 10 and 20%, then you have the remaining 70%. This is where we bring in people and do these internship programs, or these programs specifically targeted at least for now towards women. And they've been fantastic, because these guys, as you mentioned earlier, they're out of the box thinkers, and they are very innovative. And we actually rotate them. I rotate them through all the different disciplines that I have in my department, from compliance, governance, awareness, risk, incident response, forensics, SOC, security engineering, architecture, operations, etc. And to add to that also, I think Amit mentioned something about some of the hidden or hidden gems in cybersecurity, or people don't think about and don't really give that much importance, like security and architecture. That's a very important field that, yes, a lot of people are not hiring into. So what we did here at KAUST, we looked at frameworks that are out there, frameworks for education and for training and for employment, actually. And there are many frameworks that have started in the world. One of the first frameworks in the US by NIST is called NICE, the National Initiative on Cybersecurity Education. And then followed by a framework that was, I think, by the NCA here, which is called SUYUF, the Saudi Cybersecurity Work Framework, where each of these frameworks basically define a certain set of roles in cybersecurity. In the case of NICE, you have 52 roles. Imagine there are that many roles. So people who are entering this field, they can see that it has a huge breadth, okay? And the second one, which is the SUYUF framework from NCA, has 40 roles. And they span the whole gamut, from legal to privacy to risk to architecture to incident response to penetration testing to vulnerability management, et cetera, et cetera. This is very exciting. Okay, so I'm going to stop here. I have some more to talk about regarding how exciting this field is and why is it going to keep growing more and more. But I'd like to give the floor to Amit to comment on what we said.
Yeah, Amit, your thoughts?
Very interesting point touched by my fellow panelists. One thing I would like to add over here, not from the organization point of view, but we have actually created a community in India. And this community is basically the senior security professionals, which is growing day by day actually. And it's like a autonomous community. What we are doing over the period of last 2 years, specifically after the COVID time hit us, is that actually we are actually interacting with a lot of engineering colleges and a lot of little different colleges where we can see that there are good people who can come into cybersecurity industry, and we are actually taking awareness session, not the cybersecurity awareness, but so what we are doing is actually we are targeting some colleges. We are actually going. We are interacting with the professors. We are interacting with the students over there. We are making them aware at what sort of a cybersecurity job market is all about. How it is looking, what kind of opportunity lies for them, what kind of packages they can get, how this particular industry can help them to fulfill their careers. Most of the organizations are doing the hackathons for themselves, but we are also conducting hackathons over here for the engineering colleges, just to actually gauge the interest areas of the students and to attract them into cybersecurity field. And believe me, we have seen good results. In fact, just a couple of days back, I was actually interacting with students from one of the engineering college, where you will not believe, out of 50 students, 35 students were not aware about cybersecurity. They were literally not aware, and I was actually scared and shocked to hear that they are not aware about cybersecurity. Most of the people were aware about cybercrime. They were aware about cyber frauds.
I just want to inject one thing. The Saudi Federation for Cybersecurity and Drones Programming, SAF-CSP in Saudi Arabia, is actually doing a fantastic job as well. They have a couple of initiatives. One's called the Cyber Nights, which they run during Ramadan, which addresses the motivation and inspiration aspect we talked about. And they also have another initiative called a Cyber Hub, where they bring companies like ours, as well as yours, to connect with students via short burst courses, 1 hour, 2 hour, half a day, depending on the bandwidth, to talk to them about what the industry needs, technologies out there, the opportunities out there. How I know this is because Fire Solutions is a strategic partner of the Federation, and as part of our iota of contribution to the industry and capacity development, we're working quite closely with them. Les, any comments from you? Anything else to add, or any suggestions from you before we get to close this?
No, I just mentioned that. I said it's important that we embrace and show empathy. And I said my thinking is that all of us are cybersecurity professionals, not even others who are not in the what we call a field, because we need to engage and embed, such that it's no more like it's this group that does it. It's everyone who does it, and who has that mindset. It's important, and that change requires a mindset change. And I've said that other things that, like I've mentioned, those are just, things you do until the new idea comes in. But I think it's a whole mindset of how we do things.
Brilliant. Ed, any comments from you? Any additional stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I was just, when we talked about how to keep these folks basically interested, and why is this cybersecurity field going to keep growing? I mean, let's think about one thing. What is the single thing that almost runs everything in the world now? Software, right? I mean, software is going to keep doing that, because as my colleagues mentioned earlier, we're in a digital transformation, very quick into digital transformation, and the whole world is transformed into digital. And basically, eventually, all of us are going to depend on software. Whoever thought like 10 years ago that the largest taxi provider in the world is a piece of software, or the largest hotel or accommodation provider in the world is also a piece of software. No one knew that. But what does that mean? You know, when we're building software, or these organizations are building software, which is basically became their bread and butter, and that's where the whole world is depending on. What's going to happen is that there's always going to be this competition between the marketing and sales departments of these companies and the engineering and quality assurance departments of these companies to ensure one is trying to put things on the market and, as fast as possible, and time to market is very crucial for them, and the others just want to take their time to produce a great product before they put it on the market. And who's going to win, you think? Most of these organizations are for profit, so the marketing sales folks are going to win, and we're going to get what, like Patch Tuesdays and Patch Wednesdays, and every every week we're going to get patches, and software is going to be buggy. One of these bugs are going to be what? So most of these bugs are going to be security holes, security vulnerabilities. So we need people to plug these security vulnerabilities. We need people to ensure that no one exploits of the bad actors exploits these security vulnerabilities. We need defenders of these enterprises that are running these software. And thus, what I tell people when I want to tell them about cybersecurity, I say, if you get into cybersecurity, you have a job for life. It's not going to end. This is my 2 cents into that.
Fantastic. And Amit, what's your last thoughts?
I think Ed covered perfectly. We are looking out for the people who are the cyber warriors or the cyber ninjas of future, and they should have a lifetime opportunity to have a fantastic career in cybersecurity. That is what the message we should pass to the community. That is what we should actually tell the people who want to pursue a career in cybersecurity. And that is where we will get those hidden gems who can become the next cybersecurity warriors for us. I think that can be a very good thing for us to do, actually.
Sure. I think as a cybersecurity community, let's come together. Let's build that cyber kingdom, which is filled with cyber warriors, which can actually help countries and regions enhance their cybersecurity posture and ensure that all this innovation, all this digital transformation, all the disruption that's happening actually is retained, and there is no stop or pause at all of that. Gentlemen, of course, this is an interesting topic, and we can talk about it for hours, if not days together. But we have Black Hat Middle East and Africa this November in Saudi Arabia. We could continue these discussions out there. Until then, thank you so much, Ed, Amit, and Les, for your valuable feedback, for practical tips. Creating cyber minds and talent is a collective responsibility. Let's all come together as a cybersecurity community. See you all in Black Hat this November in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia.
Thank you. See you then.